Time to make the donuts. Here, right here. I want to call to order the March 2nd meeting of the Ascension Consolidated Gravity Drainage District. I would like for everyone to please stand for the invocation and please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Dear Lord, let's keep the wisdom amongst us. Let's work as a team. Let's keep it unified. We ask that you take care of the people that will be traveling this week to represent us in Washington, D.C. We ask this in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Madam Secretary. We have Mr. Valentine is not present. Everyone else is present. We have public comment period. Anybody in the audience that wishes to speak, please sign in with the Secretary. You'll be given 3 minutes. The floor would entertain a motion to accept the minutes of the February 2nd, 2009 meeting.
Second.
And we have a motion by Mr. Bell, second by Mr. Lohr. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion passes. We'd like to also motion that we accept the minutes of the February 11th, 2009 meeting.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Lohr, second by Mr. Bell. Any discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes. On the chairman's report, all I have for you tonight is I want to let everybody know that the new intergovernmental agreement between East Ascension Gravity Drainage and Ascension Parish Government Administration was signed into effect last Wednesday evening, and I want to thank everybody that worked hard to work through that, and that's all I have for right now. Before we go any further, I want to just please note that the agenda items have been changed since the package was received on Thursday. Item 7C was omitted. Item number 12 has been omitted. Please adjust your package accordingly. We'll move on to item number 6. Appointment of the Drainage District Manager. Parish President Martinez.
Yes, we'd like to recommend Mr. Rue.
I'll offer that motion.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Thompson. We have a second by Mr. Bell. Any discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Rue. Yes, Mr. Rue, please.
Yes, Chairman, I'd like to thank President Martinez, the commissioners, and all those that supported me for the opportunity to continue my career as a public servant. And I pledge to all of you that I will, to the best of my ability, do everything possible to fulfill the mission of the Drainage District and the goals of the Parish President. So again, thank you.
Thank you, sir. We hope that within this agreement that you have, you can really dedicate your time on the projects that we have in hand.
I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you. We'll move right on to item number 7, drainage reports. Mr. Rue.
Yes, sir. We have quite a number of things to mention tonight, and I'm going to go through it pretty quick. So if you, at any point in time you want to ask any question about these items or anything else, I'll be feel free to ask the question. I'll do my best to answer it. Regular drainage. Dutton Amos Ditch project, 90% complete and really looking good. The Oak Grove Community Center project, 80% complete. We're waiting on DOTD permits for the Oak Grove project. for a stub out in the catch basin on LA 73. So we should be finishing that up as soon as we get the permits. Ascension Trace project, 85% complete. Muddy Creek Manchac Harbor erosion repair. In trying to get the specifications together to bid this out, we have everything except a couple of things that's needed by the engineer that the geotech did not give to them. We tasked the geotech to go out and get these couple of borings and additional information to the engineer so they can complete the specifications. We should have that within the next 2 or 3 weeks. But in the meantime, as soon as this happens, we're able to bid it immediately, at least advertise for bids, which takes about 3 weeks. In the meantime, though, we're going to be mobilizing within the next 2 weeks our own personnel to drain the pond and try to put down the flowcrete barrier at the bottom of the pond while we're waiting for the bid to go through and the actual project to begin. So we will be starting some of the project within the next 2 weeks of draining the pond, depending on the weather conditions. The shredder, the next main job for the shredder is the Bateman ditch, and then we're mobilizing it to the Law Ridge levee. And we're going to be talking about the Law Ridge levee further down in the major capital improvement projects, but we're going to be mobilizing to do the levee upgrade ourselves. First phase of that is shredding, is removing all the debris and doing a shredding operation on that structure. Drain structures at the railroad at LA 30 and Silverstone subdivisions. The material has been received. Work order was issued by the railroad to their contractor to proceed to Silverstone for that project, but they want to do both at the same time, the Silverstone and LA 30, and they're waiting on DOTD permit for LA 30, so that's the only thing kind of holding that up a little bit, but it should be occurring very shortly, and it has been approved by the railroad, and a work order has been issued by them. Major drainage channel improvements. Bay Francois, digging is complete, removal of spalls are continuing. Marty Burat ditch, digging is complete, and incidentals such as replacing the fences and finish grading and putting in some bridges is ongoing right now. Bird Allen ditch, engineering is complete, right-of-way is 95% complete, and wetlands delineation is complete. We're just waiting to, that's the next thing on our major channel improvement section of drainage, is to get on the Bird Allen ditch, because we want to try to finish that before the summer. And the only thing we're waiting on that to complete the right-of-way, and that should be down forthcoming within the next week or two. Hope to complete it and get to work on it. Smith Bayou, 800 feet to completion of that section of Bayou. Next primary project for the major channel section is the existing Law Ridge levee upgrade, which we're doing in-house, and the Bird Allen ditch. So that is the two main priorities of the major channel section of Drainage Department. Fisherman's Wharf North, which is right next to the Fisherman's Wharf bar, is completed it today. The contractor is mobilizing to the Diaz Bridge to do the repair of the Diaz Bridge, and then he'll be going back to Fisherman's Wharf on the south side to complete the south bulkhead repair. And CDM is in contact with NRCS concerning the contracts for debris removal, and they're also involved with permit acquisitions, which is in progress. Capital improvement projects. We are in the process of reprioritizing all the projects as per updated and revised costs of those projects, and that is ongoing. The Muddy Creek drainage basin evaluation is completed. Full report will be coming to you at the next meeting. They're preparing that report right now. We had a brief summary of it over the last few days, but we're waiting for the full report and evaluate that full report before bringing it to the full commission. Existing Law Ridge levee upgrade, like I said a minute ago, we are mobilizing for that. And the only thing that we're holding back on, or we not, the reason we're not mobilized yet, is the fact that we're about 60% complete with the right-of-way acquisition. We have to complete the right-of-way acquisition before we can actually start doing the work, but that doesn't keep us from going in there and doing the snagging and clearing operation, which we are mobilizing within the next week or so. The evaluation of the Law Ridge Levee extension by GSA and funded by the Punch Ring Levee District is ongoing. We had a meeting of the stakeholders of the Spanish Lake Flood Protection Environmental Restoration Project, which is also funded by the Punch Ring Levee District and is managed by the Shaw Group. We held, they had the meeting, work group meeting last Thursday night, which I attended representing the parish and the drainage district. Chairman Cluart is working with the Punch Ring Levee District evaluation of the Panama Canal and Conway bayous. Bids for the Marvin Borough Pumping Station closure presented tonight, and construction should begin within 60 days. Again, that's further down on the agenda for approval of the low bid for that project. And the Marvin Borough Pumping Station cost estimate for the addition of 1 pump instead of 2 pumps are being prepared for a cost-benefit analysis. What we have an engineer is to give us those the cost factors for the downsizing of that project, just so the information can be presented to the commission to make the decision on the prioritization of the other projects. And basically, that's my report for tonight. As always, you should have the work orders. If you see anything in it that you want to maybe ask a question of tonight, be glad to try to answer it. If not, review it and contact my office with any questions.
Yes, Mr. Cullen.
Bill, cleaning out New River, the trees and stuff that are falling in there. When we going to start on that?
Well, that is part of the NRCS project, and right now we're working on permits, obtaining permits from the Corps of Engineers and Coast Guard and other agencies for that removal, which is our responsibility. And also we're trying to determine what is the best route to go to completely let NRCS do it, or do a local contracting of that project and get reimbursed by NRCS, or the third way is getting what I guess where they we submit our invoices to them and we do it in-house, with our personnel. And CDM is involved with that evaluation. The way it looks now, we'll probably go with a local contractor where we get reimbursed by NRCS, but we should have all that information for your review at the next meeting.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, Bill, I got a quick question on New River. I mean, they got several sections where people have had look like patio awnings that have fell in, and different things like that. Is there any? I'm going to go to the people. Several of them's in my district. Just
if they have things that's affecting their, I guess their land at present that really needs to be taken out, we'll be happy to go and look at it and try to get the things out. We prefer, though, if it is storm-related, that they wait until we're able to come through there with NRCS or our local contractor. That way we can get it reimbursed. Okay. If we do it now, we probably won't be able to get it reimbursed.
Yeah, and I think it's mainly a drainage issue at this point, not necessarily whether they're out of a patio cover or something.
And we're trying to proceed with it as quick as possible, but the permits is a little problem that we're having, having to go back and get the permits.
Do you have any time frames right now on?
Well, we're hoping to have, and I was told today that it might be possible that we have the permits within 30 days. And within that same 30 days, we're hoping to resolve exactly, between us and NRCS, the way we're going to fund this, either, local contractor or force account, what they call. And again, it looks like we're going to go with local contractor. So we should have all that resolved in 30 days, by the next meeting.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Thompson.
Yes, Bill, there has, I turned in a request for ditching Kennedy Heights that runs between some houses. Mr. Lloyd Irvin requested it. We're supposed to be out there looking at it. You know a timeline on when they're going to get that surveyed and go in there? And
survey has been completed on it, and a work order has been issued. They can do a combination of ditch cleaning, but also blow out some covers, a lot of covers through there, and enlarge the ditch. So but a work order has been put on it. I can check and give you information more of the timeline of the work order. But engineering is complete on that project.
That project been on the books like a couple of years.
It has, and it's been put back for several reasons, a number of reasons, but it is, again, engineering has been completed, and I talked to the manager of the regular drainage today, and it has been put on the time schedule for a work order.
You don't have no idea when they...
I can give you that information tomorrow. I can find out from my manager, look at their timeline, and give it to you.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
Right here, Randy.
Yeah, Mr. Bell.
Bill, is there any, you have a timeline on the Arthur Smith property on 621 that's the, the ditches eroding
Yes, sir.
out? The,
What we want to do there, and I promise, and I have to go back and look because it's supposed to have been done. We told Mr. Smith we would go in and put some riprap at at the worst spot along the ditch along his property, and just as a stopgap before we go in there and do more extensive bank stabilization. The more extensive bank stabilization I'm talking about, and also has to do with Mr. Molaire and a lot of other properties along our channels, is to use the same method that's being used on the Manchac Harbor, Muddy Creek at Manchac Harbor problem, and that is to use the anchors with a soil retention fabric and do it on a local basis with that in-house personnel. The problem is that we're waiting to use that project on Manchac Harbor as our training before doing it ourselves on all the local areas, problem areas throughout all our canals. And that's
Okay.
the hold up on that.
okay, but the riffraff, I mean, it's coming. It's
Well,
he
we are
was
supposed to
told
win
there was a
there.
work order in. He just
Work order, I'll have to check the status of it, but if it's not, we'll get it because I promised that
Okay.
we would have it in there several weeks ago. So if it's not in there, I'll make sure that it happens
Okay.
soon.
thanks.
Mr. Shakespeare.
Bill, we didn't mention it tonight, but there's been some discussion about some common detention ponds in the Ball Bayou area. Are we pursuing that a little further to, as part of that drainage plan that was part of some of the recommendations?
That's part of the GSA plan. They and this is something that we've always looked at least the number of years that I've been here, as looking at area detention rather than localized detention by developments and especially commercial developments. Right now, the evaluation and the task given to GSA was come back with some kind of numbers on the estimated cost of putting area detention in, permitting, land acquisition, and such. We need that estimate to just give us a order of magnitude of the type of project we're looking at.
When-
And I haven't received that
When
yet.
can we get a timeline for that? Or
Well, I'll talk to,
I see what you got there. I got it. I got it, Kent.
and I'll
Mr. Rue,
refer that to GSA.
Mr. Rue,
We have a
Mr.
representative.
GSA's behind you, raising his hand, so he may want to,
do you have,
We'll
do you have an update
recognize-
on that part?
we can recognize you. Mr. Jake Lambert.
Hey y'all, Jake Lambert, I'm here with GSA. We've been working on the Ball Bayou project. What we've done, basically, it's been a two-part study. First was to resolve any existing drainage issues that are going on in the basin, which we submitted that with the summary of all the upgrade of the channels, and there's some drainage structures that need to be changed out. The second part of this project we've been working on in conjunction with the parish. We met about a month ago with Riparian Incorporated, who does a lot of wetland consulting for the parish, and we were trying to get a handle. We have a good handle on what the sizes of these proposed basins will need to be and where they will be located, and then the next part of that component would be dealing with any wetland issues or environmental concerns that are going on. And we have based on our meeting we had with them, we got a real good idea of that. We were working on trying to put a cost associated with these proposed improvements. Along with that, the planning department in the parish is currently working on a new drainage ordinance that is trying to incorporate some of these basin-wide detention facilities in the new drainage ordinance, and in the process of establishing drainage districts within each of the major basins in the parish. And so last week we had a meeting. The parish has drafted an amended ordinance that includes some of these localized drainage districts in them. And they got a bunch of the consultants in the community, people that are actually working on some of these projects, designing some of these projects, and trying to get projects permitted under these guidelines together last week to get feedback from us to see how get some feedback as to what we feel like these new ordinances, how it'll affect development in the areas, and also the overall stormwater detention projects. As I understand it, this Boyle Bayou project will be the first study done that'll actually fall underneath this new revised ordinance. And right now, it's looking just to kind of give you some guidelines. It looks like it's going to be pretty expensive to do this, and that's going to be something that'll have to be weighed out and to actually determine what the cost, the benefits of these proposed improvements will be to the developers, as opposed to them saving their property for future development. Mm-hmm. So we're expecting to have this in the next couple of weeks. We were kind of holding back until we saw where the new drainage ordinance was going with these proposed drainage basin districts. And we got a pretty good idea about that now. We've been meeting with Jen Laurie and Ricky Compton with the Parish Planning Department. So we're expecting to have this thing wrapped up here in the next couple of weeks and have a report to y'all.
Yeah, because I just think that's
it's been going on for.
It's one of the few areas where you have a large area that's not developed yet, and what we're running into problems in other parts of the parish, let's say around Airline Highway. So you have small developments coming in, and they have to come up with a detention pond to detain their water, and there's no place to do it. And if you can get a common area where they can, the money that they would normally spend on that, they can just pay it to the parish for the right to do that, then we can get things moving faster. So.
Thank you, Jay.
Oh, okay.
You know.
And what we're doing on that, just because
That's what I want to.
it's the numbers. We want hard, or as hard as we can get, numbers to look at, so you can make I guess, a priority of which way you want to go with it.
Yeah. I guess
Without the numbers, you don't know.
my point is, we started out talking about work orders and some projects, and now we're talking about new drainage ordinances that I believe that the administration's planning and zoning committee is working on looking at,
We're
because
working,
as part of, will
Right.
become part of a master plan at some point, and try to look at that. Mr. Rue, you've been involved in those discussions? So-
myself and DPW Director Fairchild and the engineer for both drainage and road department, along with the planning engineers, been working together on all of this.
From what Jake's telling me, that within that, there's been some inquiries to the people that actually develop land, people actually develop
Right.
subdivisions, the builders and all that, see what's the impact and everything. And that, so this is probably a subject for a later date, whenever y'all get that. I'd appreciate it. I'm sure there's some guys up here that hadn't really been involved in that.
And what's going to happen, of course, you can see it at the drainage as commissioners, but again, where you're going to see this is through the planning department presenting it to the full commission, council for review, and you'll be at that point in time, I'll be there, and everybody be available for answering questions during that review process.
Well, I believe it's a good thing that y'all doing, so let's keep it up. We appreciate your input too, Jay.
Yes, sir. We've been working with the parish. I mean, we kind of have a unique perspective in that we do work for the drainage district, but also we do some work for private developers. So we kind of see both sides and the pluses and the minuses from the developer's point of view, but also, obviously, trying to keep the best interest of the parish as well.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Rube? Mr. Dempsey Lambert?
Yeah, Bill, the Tiger Lewis and Mr. Gale property, are we still working on that to get that drainage resolved back there?
Yes, we are, and I've met with Mr. Gill and talked to him by phone. He wishes for us to go forward with some type of, I guess, enhancement of his property with culverts, to provide him some protection from the drainage coming off of Keystone subdivision. But our requirement is for us to tie in Tiger Lewis Road to that drainage system, and he is okay with that. So right now, we're in the process of what kind of drainage structures we need to go through his property and the cost of that. And I have to bring that back to the commission for approval.
Okay, thank you. Just one other thing, the shredder, the Roddy Bayou, and I see another work order here that's been in for a while on Leo Causey, from Leo Causey to the Avon River.
That's
Can
all
you-
on,
can
that's
you
all
check
on
those?
our list, work order list for the shredder.
Yeah.
However, what we need to do is we have one small job for it, and then we're moving it to the Law Ridge levy so we can complete that
Yeah.
and get that project started, then going back on its regular schedule.
Thank
And
you.
I can give you the regular schedule, send it to you tomorrow to show where those items are on the regular schedule.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Lambert. Any other questions? Mr. Rue? Thank you. We'll move along to item number 8. The issued purchase order to Guzman Machine Works for the repair on the rake at the Martinboro Pumping
I just
Station.
want to make one, we had anticipated Louisiana, the Department of Natural Resources being here for a question and answer on the Louisiana coastal zone.
Yeah,
And they were notified last week of the date and time of the meeting, but we haven't had a response since, and it's not here tonight. So we're going to pass on that one
Yeah.
item.
I apologize for passing it
Yeah,
up,
but I
kind of
just-
looking
Just to
ahead,
make it
but
clear. We'll reschedule that for the next meeting.
we are moving forward on the Louisiana coastal zone as far as getting all the information in front of us.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. We'll go to item number 8, purchase order for Guzman Machine Works, and just let folks know that I did get a call on this, and we're not going to hold up any repairs on the pumping station. So, we move forward. We're trying to get that going. So
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
we have moved by
Second.
Mr. Todd Lambert, a second by Mr. Dennis Cullen. Any discussion? Any opposition? Motion carries. We'll move on to item number 9. Status update on the grants, HMGP grants. Ms. Carla Cormier.
Good evening, gentlemen. You have in front of you your memo that explains every project and where we are on each project. I do have one bit of good news. We do have notice from the state that on February 13th, we were awarded $856,940 for elevation of the 10 homes that are listed on project number 1 on page 1. So what I'd like to do to expedite is the contract's not in hand, but if you could accept those funds pending legal approval, we could go ahead and start working on the project when it does come in.
Is it necessary to accept that tonight?
It's-
Mr. Rue,
the
what's
time
your recommendation on
starts as
that?
of February 13th, but we can wait.
I'd rather put it as a separate agenda item at the next meeting.
Okay,
That's fine.
thank you, sir.
So just to let you guys know that if you have homes on those streets, we can make sure that you know which home that is, but the information right now is confidential.
Okay.
So just let me know at a later time. But all the other projects, we have several demolitions that are out for bid, so if any contractors want to bid on those projects, they're being advertised right now in the paper.
Okay.
Do you have any questions on our projects?
Looks good. We have no emergencies tonight?
No emergencies tonight,
That's
just a
good.
general update, and I thought you'd like to know about that good bit of information there.
We thank you very much.
I'd like to
Mr.
comment
Cormier.
about one thing, because I know
Yes.
it's been asked to me before, but I just want everybody to understand that part of the grants that we're going in is a competitive grants, and it's listed in the report, in addition to retrofitting a number of buildings, we also applying for $899,000 for Alligator Bayou floodgates. We're asking for $998,000 for the Alligator Bayou and Bayou Paul Road flood wall. That's all part of what the Lake Pontchartrain is doing, but if we can get extra money, we'll expedite that project. The upgrade of Law Ridge Levee, we asked for $17 million, and that's the extension and the upgrade. And we're asking for an upgrade of the pumping station, retrofitting of the pump house, which is actually the enclosure. We're asking for $21 million. So we are applying for grants. We may get some of it, of some maybe not any of none, but we are applying for it and doing the administration doing everything possible to get some money.
All right. Well, Mr. Rue, we just want to let you know that even though we're part-time folks, if any one of these board members can be present anywhere to help,
Okay.
or make some phone calls, or do some lobbying, such, you know, parish president and administration,
And
Mr. Grant.
one of the big advantages of being a team with the parish government now, that we have more access to trying to find and lobby for this money.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for Ms. Cormier? Thank you, ma'am. We'll move on to item number 10. Acceptance of low bid for Marvin Bro Pumping Station enclosure. Mr. Rue?
Yes, sir. On February 6, 2009, East Ascension Drainage District received 3 qualified bids for the enclosure of the microroid pumping station. The lowest qualified bid was submitted by Acadian Builders and Contractors in the amount of $1,690,000. BKI estimated the construction cost at $1.3 million. The bond proceeds does allow for this cost overrun based on reprioritization of capital improvement program projects. And the motion proposed is to accept the low bid not to exceed $1,690,000 from the Acadian Builders and Contractors for the construction of the enclosure Marvin Bro Pumping Station as per specification prepared by Burke Klein Peter Engineers. The contract between East Ascension Drainage and Acadian Builders will be prepared and presented to the Commission for approval after completion and legal review. We ask that for the motion.
Motion.
We have a motion by Mr.
Second.
Thompson, second by Mr. Bell. Any discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes. We'll move on to item number 11. Authorization to purchase additional servitudes, existing Law Ridge levee upgrade. Mr. Rue.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, the additional servitude needed for the existing Law Ridge levee upgrade. The additional servitudes are based on a right-of-way map prepared by SJB, and compensation for the servitudes was prepared by our appraiser and reviewed by SJB Property Acquisition Section and EADW. The cost of the servitudes is budgeted in the capital improvement program. Right now, it's estimated at about $125,000 for additional servitude. But that's still, we're in a negotiation phase with a lot of this. We ask for the motion to authorization to acquire additional servitudes along the existing Law Ridge levee as part of the existing Law Ridge levee upgrade project, as per right-of-way map and specifications prepared by SJB Group, and compensation determined by River Parish appraisers, and to authorize the parish president to execute the agreements and pay compensation after legal review.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion by
Second.
Mr. Dempsey Lambert, second by Mr. Bell. Any discussion? Mr. Thompson.
So, Bill, we ready to move to start acquiring additional right-of-way right now?
We have already offered letters of I guess, acquisition amounts to the landowners, and we're waiting to hear back from a lot of them. We have already got a commitment from a number of them. They're okay with the acquisition amounts, the cost, the compensation, and we're negotiating with a few others. Now, again, I want to emphasize the fact that, you know, once we give these offers to the property owners, we are somewhat bound to honor those offers if they accept it. And that's why I'm and it's all done through our right-of-way acquisition team, SJB, and our appraiser, as per the state of Louisiana acquisition rules. And that's why I'm requesting that once this offered and they accept it, that the parish president allowed to go ahead and execute those payments without coming back to the council. We'll come back with the complete list of costs and property owners. But again, it's once we make the offer, we honor to we're mandated to go ahead and proceed with the acquisition.
So what you're asking for is also the authorization for the parish president to go ahead and close the deal on it.
Close the deal.
You're not necessarily offering to ask for the parish president to have the ability to negotiate.
No, the SJB is negotiating through their acquisition with the figures that's given to them by River Parish Appraisers,
Right.
who is our appraiser, according to the rules of the state of Louisiana acquisition,
And-
DOTD acquisition.
And all your appraisals have been done.
And all the appraisals have been done, and a lot of the offer letters has been sent.
All right. I guess a while back, just while we're on the Law Ridge levy, is that, I'd had some calls and we've had some, concerns from some of the citizens about communications. They didn't know somebody asking them something like that between the surveyor and the land acquisition, and it seems like that might have been straightened up some. We appreciate that.
Yeah, they have. SJB was told to go back and make sure they understood everything that is required of them of the acquisition.
And I'd certainly appreciated all the notice given to them for the start on the work there before we start construction. Thank you, sir. Any other discussion? Any opposition? Motion carries. Move on to item number 12, authorization to enter into an intergovernmental agreement for purchase of treated timber, West Ascension Drainage District. Mr. Rue.
Yes, sir. West Ascension Drainage requests an intergovernmental agreement with EA Drainage, which will allow them to purchase or to have access to our inventoried treated timber and also covers. I want to add that to the motion. Treated timber and covers that we have inventoried in our yard, with the stipulation that they will reimburse the cost back to EA Drainage for those items. And the motion is the authorization to enter into an intergovernmental agreement between East Ascension Consolidated Drainage District Number 1 and West Ascension Consolidated Drainage Number 1 for the purchase of inventoried treated timber and covers.
So moved.
We have a motion by Mr. Shake Snyder. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Thompson. Discussion. Yes, I got a quick discussion.
Yes,
This is a direct payback, right?
Yes, sir. And what we usually do, we do it for the town of Sorrento and also for the city of Gonzales, is that we figure out, we have a list, we have annual contract for the purchase of covers and timber based on unit costs, and we get a request like this, we add up the unit cost of that particular timber, and that's what we back charge the either the town or city, or in this case, West Ascension Drainage.
Whatever municipality or...
That's right.
Okay. Thank you for working with everybody. Any other discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes. We'll move on to item number 13, authorization to lease crane for Muir Road box culvert installation. Mr. Rue.
Yes, sir. The installation of box culvert of Bird Allen Ditch under Mill Road will require a crane with an operator. We requested 3 quotes. We want to receive 2 qualified quotes. And the lowest quote was for $8,200 by Capital Crane Rentals, and we seek authorization to lease mobile crane with operator for the installation of Mill Road at Bird Allen Ditch box covers from Capital Crane Rentals for a cost not to exceed $8,200.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Bell, second by Mr. Todd Lambert. Any discussion? I got a quick discussion. People don't want to lease their cranes or what? Cranes might be busy right now?
We gave it to the purchasing department to contact at least 3, and as of today, because I said that we needed it for the meeting tonight, only 2 responded as of today.
Thank you, sir. Any other discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes. Mr. Lambert.
Motion adjourned, then, Mr.
We
Chairman.
have a motion by Mr. Todd Lambert to
Second.
adjourn. We have a second by Mr. Bell. Any discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes. We are adjourned.